In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a Notion habit tracker that shows your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly progress for both your good habits as well as your bad habits that you want to stop. And the way this habit tracker is set up allows you to add or remove habits in the future without changing the progress of your previous days. And you can have specific habits for specific days, as well as add a new year to your habit tracker. Now, if you just want to save time and grab this habit tracker for yourself, then just check out the first link in the description. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start off by creating 3 different databases. One for our good habits, one for our bad habits, and one for our days. So the first property that we want to add for both will be a date property. And then for the good habits, we're going to add a checkbox property. So this one will be called done. This is what we'll use to actually mark the habit as complete. Now the next property that we're going to add is a relation property to our days database, and we're going to do it for both the bad habits as well as the good habits. Alright, so once both of them are added, we can give an icon to both of these. So this one can be a minus symbol, and then the good habits can be a plus. Alright, so once the relations are set up, we want to add template buttons to both our bad and good habits. So for these, we're simply going to add an icon. So let's just do the check mark icon and make sure to set this template button as default. And then we're going to do the exact same with our good habits. And this one is just going to be green. And then we're also going to set this one as a default. Now, if we delete these database entries and add new ones, then our template buttons will automatically be added. So let's add a couple of example habits. Alright, so next what we want to do is just add Monday to one of these, and let's relate this one with all of our habits. Let's just unwrap these columns so they're in one line. And now that both of our bad habits and good habits are related with Monday, we can now add progress bars. So let's go ahead and create a formula and call this one daily progress. Let's create another formula which will be called bad habit progress, and a third formula which will be called good habit progress. So let's start off with our bad habit progress, and let's begin by using a let's function to set a variable. So the variable that we're going to set is for our bad habits, and this one will be a map function going into our bad habits database, so this related database. And for this formula, we want to use the current checkbox property. So we're using the related database, but we're using this done checkbox property of the bad habits database. Now that we've set our variable, we just want to add a comma, and then if we shift enter, we can now select our bad habits variable. So each time we use this variable, it's going to use this function. So instead of typing this out every single time, we just set a variable once, and then we can just reuse this line of text each time we want to use this function. So what we want to do here is divide the total number of checkboxes with the total number of checkboxes, so that we can get a percentage. So what we want for the checked checkboxes is to just filter all of this. So currently we only have the just normal checkboxes, but we want to filter this. So add a dot and then the filter function, and then select the current function, which will be our checkboxes, because that's the property that we're using. And then we can say needs to equal true. So now it will only show checked checkboxes. So if I check this one, it will now actually show it, but we don't want to actually see the checkboxes. We want a number. So we're going to add a length function, and then it will show the total number of checked checkboxes. And now for the second part of this formula, we're going to add a divide, and then use the same bad habits variable and just add a length function to it. So this will count the total number of checkboxes. So now it will actually show a total. So 0.5, okay, 50%, 100%. And now in order to turn this into a percentage, just edit the property and change the number format to percentage, and then select the progress bar or the progress ring and change the color to red. And now we can mark Monday's habits as complete, and the progress bar will update. Now if I add another habit, let's just do now alcohol, and then link this to Monday, then you'll see the habit progress will now update and show a bunch of decimals, which we don't want. So for our formula, all we want to do is just to add a round function in the beginning with 2 open brackets, and then at the end 1 closing bracket, multiplied with 100, and then the second closing bracket, and divide everything with 100. And then it should get rid of all the decimals. And for the good habits progress bar, it's going to be the exact same thing. So let's just copy everything over and then replace the bad habits relation with our good habits database. And then also replace the done checkbox property, and also just change the variable text to good habits and replace all the other variables with our new good habits variable. And then when we click on done and mark our good habits as complete, you'll see the progress bar updating. Alright, so now for our total daily habit progress, we're going to use the exact same variables as for the bad and good habits. So let's just copy both of them over. And then just make sure to reselect the done checkbox property. And then what we're going to do is basically just combine both of them. So we're going to add an open bracket and then copy the first part of our bad habits formula, paste it in, add a plus, and then do the exact same for the good habits. And then we're going to divide this with the next part, which will also be inside of brackets. So we're going to copy the last part of our bad habits formula, paste it in, add a plus, and then do the exact same for the good habits, and then add a closing bracket as well as another closing bracket to close off the let function. And for this formula as well, we also just want to add a round function and then close everything off, multiply it with 100 and divide everything with 100. And now we can edit this property, change the number format to percentage, change it to a progress bar, and change the color to blue. And now if we mark our habits as complete, you'll see the daily progress updating as well as the total bad habit and the good habit progress. Alright, so before we continue, let's just first clean everything up. So the first thing we're going to do is change the days database into a gallery view, and we're going to select page cover, and we're going to make the card size small, and then inside of properties, we're going to show the good habit progress, the daily habit progress, and the bad habit progress, and put the total habit progress at the top. And then what we want to do is just click on one of these database entries and change the default view to a side peek view. And now when we open it, it will open on the side. And then what we want to do is just click on the good habits relation, show as page section, and then also show the done checkbox property and move it to the top so it's on the side. And then do the exact same with the bad habits, show the done checkbox property and move it to the side. Now we can check off our habits inside of our day database and the progress bars will all update. Let's just reorder these. And once that's done, we just want to close out of this and turn all of these into pages, and then just hide everything inside of a toggle at the bottom of the dashboard. So let's just create a database toggle. Let's make this bold, change the color to gray, and then just drop all of these inside. Now what we want to do is right click on the days database, copy the link, and then we create a linked view database of the days database. Select this view, and now we can title this days. We can add the triangle icon, and now because this is a linked view database and not the original, we have the ability to change the source, which is what we'll use when we want to add the weeks, months, quarters and years views as well. But for now, let's just keep it like that. Hide the database title, and then let's also create a callout box and name this habit tracker. Let's highlight this, make it bold, underline it, make it blue, drag this database inside, and then let's also just give it an icon. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create template buttons for each day of the week. So click on the drop down next to new, click on new template, and then the first one is going to be for Monday, and then we're going to give it a yellow calendar icon. And then inside of this template button, let's just open this as a full page. Then inside of this, we're going to create a callout box, which is going to be for the habit buttons. And then we're going to add a button, and this button will edit pages in, and then this page. And then we're going to edit the date property and make it today. So this button will be for adding today's date. So add today's date, and then let's just give it an icon. And now if we click on this button, it will automatically add today's date inside of this database entry. But let's just clear this because this is the template button. And then what we want to do is just add an empty block inside, and then just press enter, and then add another button. And then this one we'll add pages to, and then the good habits database. So let's just select our good habits database, make sure this template button is selected, and then the property that we want to edit is going to be the name property. And here you want to type in your habit name. So let's do meditate, for example. Then you want to edit another property, which will be the days relation. So the relation to this database. And then you want to select this page. So once you click on this button, it will create a new database entry inside of the good habits database, which will be called meditate, and it will automatically link meditate to Monday. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And then the date property you also want to make today, and then just give this a name. So this will be good habits, and give it an icon. And then what you want to do is just duplicate this one and change the name for each of your habits. So let's do read, let's do journal, and let's maybe also do workout. So once your good habits are done, you want to do the exact same thing, but for your bad habits. Alright, so once you've added the buttons that will instantly add all your good habits and bad habits to your day, then what you want to do is underneath this today's date button, just add this line of text, so /color, and then inside of these brackets, the hex code of the color that you want to use. So this is a blue color, and then /rule, because we're going to create a line, and then this 330, this is the length, and then this 2 is the width. So if you highlight all of this and click on create equation, it will then create a line. And then we're also going to do the exact same thing for the good and bad habits, but for these we want to add them into a column. So /2 columns to create 2 columns, put the good habits into one, the bad habits into the other one. Then for the good habits, we're going to add this piece of text. So it's pretty much the exact same thing, just different color and size. So this is a green one. And then for the bad habits, we're going to use this one, which will be a red one. Once these are added, what you can also do is duplicate this good habits button, add it underneath, do the exact same with the bad habits. And then what you can do is rename this to Monday, and then you can add or remove habits that you would only use on Monday. So let's, for example, say on Mondays you don't do a workout, and you can delete this habit. Or let's say it's something else that you only do on Mondays, then you duplicate this and then just rename it to whatever that habit is. So you just do that for each day of the week. So you have one for Monday, you have one for Tuesday. So then you can either only use these buttons if you have the same habits every day. Otherwise, you can use individual buttons for individual days. And then once you've set up all of your buttons, what you want to do is just turn the squared box into a synced block, and then click on copy and sync at the top. Go back to your dashboard. Click on the drop down next to new, click on new template, and then we're going to add the same icon, but this one is going to be orange, and then just paste in the synced block. And then we're basically just going to repeat this process for every day of the week. So we're going to do the same for Wednesday as well, and then just give Wednesday a red icon and then paste in the synced block. And the reason for the synced block is if you make any changes to one of the template buttons, like for example changing your habits or adding or removing habits, then it will automatically reflect across all 7 template buttons, so all 7 days of the week, and you won't have to go inside of each one and change them individually. Alright, so once you've added in all 7 days of the week, what you want to do is create a new button, which will be for adding pages to this day's database, and then this button will be called add new week. And then for this button, we're also going to add an icon. And then for this first database entry, we're going to select the Monday template button, and then we're just going to duplicate this, select Tuesday, duplicate it, select Wednesday, and then just continue until you've added in all 7 days of the week. Alright, so once you've added in all 7 days of the week to this button, we can go ahead and delete these. And if we click on the button, you'll see all 7 days of the week has been added, along with all the template buttons which we added in here. So if we open up one of them, you'll actually see all the habit buttons loaded inside. Now you might notice that the days are not in a chronological order. So what you want to do is just add another property, which will be a number property called day number. And then inside of each template button, you just want to give them a number. So Monday will be number 1, Tuesday will be number 2, Wednesday will be number 3, and then you just do that for all 7 days of the week. And once that's done, you can then click on the sort, and then you can sort the database entries according to the day number and then ascending. And now if we delete all of these database entries and click on add new week, it will load all 7 days of the week in chronological order. Now for this day's view, you also want to add a filter where the date property is relative to today and is this week. And then you want to click on this menu, click on add to advanced filter, add another filter, and then use the or option. So it either needs to be this week or it needs to be empty. So if I open up one of these database entries and change the date to last week, you'll see it disappear. But if it's this week or empty, then it will show up on the view. And here you can also just hide the day number property, as you won't be using this in the view. And then before we continue to the weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly views, you just first want to go inside of each of your template buttons and just add a cover for each of your days. Alright, so once you've added in covers for all of your days, you can now click on this button again and it should load all of the covers and also be sorted in chronological order and only show the database entries which doesn't have a date or is this week. Alright, so now that our habits are set up and our days database is done, we want to create another table view database, which will be for our weekly view. Then what I'm going to do is delete the stack property and then add in a relation to our days database. Now what you want to do is click on this drop down next to new, add in week 1, add an icon, and then for these I'm going to use circles. And then for this database, we're also going to add a text property, which will be the date range. And then for this one, we're going to say January 1 until January 7. And then just as with the days database, we're also going to add in the week number, and week 1 will be 1. And then for this days relation, just show it as a page section and then make sure to show the total daily habit progress. You can also right click and rename this relation and change the icon if you wish. And then for week 1, you also want to add a cover. Now once week 1 is done, you want to just duplicate the template button and then just update it to week 2, update the date range, update the week number to 2, update the circle icon, and then also update your cover. And then you basically just repeat this process for all 52 weeks, or you can just have one template button where all of them are the exact same. But as you can see here on my full habit tracker dashboard, I created 52 template buttons, and the weeks for the first quarter is red, the second quarter is purple, then blue, and then green. And then I also got custom covers made for each of them. So it's basically just a progress bar that updates and then changes color for each of the 4 quarters. Now once you've added in all of your template buttons, what you can now do is delete all of these database entries and then just click on each of the template buttons to add them to your database. Now once that's done, you can turn this database into a page and then drag it inside of this database toggle. And then on your habit tracker, you can add a new view, select your week's database, select this view, change the layout to a gallery view, change the card preview to page cover, change the card size to small, and then just name this weeks and then also change the icon. And for this view, you also just want to hide the database title and sort your database entries according to the week number. Now for this weekly database, we want to add another 3 formulas. The first one will be for the weekly progress. The second one will be for the total good habit progress. And then the third one will be for the total bad habit progress. Now before we create the formulas, let's first just relate one of these days with a week so that we have some data to work with. Now for the weekly progress formula, we're going to use the map function and use the days relation, and then use a current function so that we can use the daily progress property. Now for this daily progress, we're going to add a sum function, and then what we're going to do is we're going to divide all of this with another map function which uses the days relation, uses the current property so that we can use again the daily progress, but this time we're going to add a length function. So basically what we're doing is we're just counting together all the check boxes of all the days that relates to this week, and then just dividing everything with the total number of check boxes. And then the last thing we want to do with this formula is just add a round function, which will be exactly the same as the other round functions that we've added to the other formulas. And now once this is done, we can copy all of this, go into the good habit progress, paste it in, and then just swap out the daily progress with the good habit progress, and then do the exact same with the bad habits. Just swap out the daily progress with the total bad habit progress. And then with all of these, we also just want to edit the property, change the number format to percentage, and create a progress bar. Alright, so once that's done, you want to click inside of the database menu, go to properties, and then just show all three of these formulas on your database view with the total weekly progress at the top and the bad habits at the bottom. Now, if we go back to our days, what you want to do is edit the Monday template button and then just create another button. So this button will edit pages in, and then you want to select this page, and then the property you want to edit is the weekly relation, and then you want to select whatever week you're in. So let's just do week 1 for now, and then this button will be called add week, and then we're just going to give it an icon as well. And then what you want to do is just add 2 columns and then drag your today's date inside of one of them and the add week inside of the other one. Now if we click outside of this, delete all of these and add in a new week and open up one of these database entries, then you'll see our new button has been added, and we can now click on this and it will automatically relate this database with that week. We can also add today's date. We can also add our habits, and everything will relate automatically. And then for this weekly relation, you just want to show this as a page section and choose to show the date range as well as the total weekly progress. And then you can also just change the icon to the triangle. And now that our Monday is connected to week 1, we can now mark our habits as complete. And as you'll see here at the bottom, the weekly progress will update. And if we go to the weeks view, you'll see our total weekly progress. So if we go to Tuesday and add in week 1 for Tuesday as well as the other habits, let's add a different date for Tuesday, mark these as complete as well, then you'll see on the weekly view it will update for all of them. Now the next thing we want to do is for the weeks view to only show the current week, because we're in week 1, week 2, 3 and 4 shouldn't show on this view. So in order to do that, we're going to add a new formula property to our days database, and this one will be called today. So for this formula, we're going to start off with a let's function. So we can create 2 different variables. The first variable will be date, and for this one, we'll be using the parse date function. This is one of the new Formula 2.0 functions, which I've already covered in depth in my Formulas 2.0 series. So if you haven't yet, be sure to watch that through the card above or in the description below. So what parse date allows us to do is create a new date. So we're going to be using the date property of our days database, and we're going to use the year of this date property. And then because it's a parse date, we have to create a date in this specific way. So it's first the year, then the month, then the day, with a hyphen in between. So at the end of this, we're going to add a plus, and then inside of quotation marks, add a hyphen, and then another plus. Then on a new line, we're going to use the format date function, and we're going to use the date property. And then we want to format the months, and then add a plus, add a hyphen inside of quotation marks, and another plus, and then add another format date function, but this one will be for the day. So let's add the date property, and then format the day inside of quotation marks, and that's it. That's the first variable. And then we just want to add a comma and then shift enter, and now we can start our second variable, which will be called current date. And then this one will also be a parse date function, but now we're going to use the now function. So it's using our current date and time, but for this first part we want to be using the year, and then again add a plus and then a hyphen inside of quotation marks, add another plus, and then the format date function, and then this one will be using the now function, and we're going to format this exactly the same as the previous date. And then we're again just going to add a hyphen inside of quotation marks, and then the last part is also going to be a format date function using the now function, and then formatting it exactly the same as the one above. And then after this we can close everything off with a comma, and now we can use our 2 variables. So now with our 2 variables set, we want to say if our date property of our days database is the same as our current date, then show true, otherwise show false. And now if we click on done, you'll see we have an unchecked checkbox, and we can click this anywhere. It won't change unless it is on today's date, and then it will show a checked checkbox. Now once this is done, you can hide your formula and then click inside of one of your weeks. Let's just also change the default view to a side peek, and then open up week 1. And then inside of this database, you want to add another property, which will be a formula, and then this one will be called current week. And for this formula, we want to add a map function and then use our days database, add a current function so that we can select the property, and then the property we want to select is going to be the today property that we just created. And now at the end of the formula, you just want to add a filter to where the current checkbox is checked. And now if I click on done, it will show a checkbox, because if I just go in here and show the date, then you'll see Monday has today's date. And if I change this date, then this checkbox will disappear. So if I make this today again, it will show that week 1 is our current week. And now for this one as well, you just want to hide this property. And now we can go inside of our weekly database filters and then just filter this database view to where the current week is checked. So now it will always only show our current week inside of this weekly view. So once your weekly view is set up, you want to do the same thing for the months, quarters and years. And for each of them, it's the exact same process. So you have the total monthly, quarterly or yearly progress, total bad habit progress, total good habit progress, the number, and then also this formula that calculates whether or not it's the current month, quarter or year. And all of these formulas is the exact same. The only difference is we just replace the relation for each of them. So in the monthly database, we're using the weekly relation, just as in the weekly database, we used the days relation. So basically all you're doing is just copying everything over and replacing the relation for each of them. And then just to show you how it looks on the final version, this is the monthly database. So these are all the template buttons, all color coded according to the quarter. And these are also custom covers, just like with the weeks. And then for the quarterly database, it is seasonal covers. And this is how they look. These are the templates. And then for the yearly database, it is just one template and the same cover, and this is the template button. And it's also important to note that for this template button you have a add quarters button. So this button will create new database entries inside of the quarters database, each of them using Q1, Q2, the 4 different template buttons, and then you just add the name, the quarter number, and then once you create a new year, so if I create a new year, let's make this 2025, and then click on the add quarters button, then it will automatically create and link those quarters to this database entry. So just make sure you add this button, and then you can add in all of your quarters to your new year. And then inside of each of the quarters, inside of their template buttons, so inside of the Q1 template button, you want to add this add months button, which will add January, February and March to this Q1. So you want to relate the quarters relation to this page, add a month number, and then just use the relevant template button, and then you can just click inside of Q1, click on add months, and then it will add all 3 months to Q1. And then you can simply just click back to the year, click on Q2, and then just click Q2's add months button, and then it will add the next 3 months to the year. And then do the same for Q3, add Q3's 3 months, and then you go back and do the same for Q4, and then add the last 3 months of the year. And then once all of the months are added, you want to do the same thing but for the months. So inside of Q1, you want to click inside of January, and then inside of the January template button, you want to add this button, which will add the weeks. So this one will add week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then you just want to use the relevant template button, and then the relation to the months database will be this page. And then when you click on this, it will automatically add January's weeks. And then you just want to repeat this process. So you click back to Q1, click on February, and then add February's weeks, click back to Q1, click on March, and then add March's 3 weeks. And then once this quarter is done, you want to click back to 2025, and then click on the second quarter, and then just repeat this process for these 3 months as well as all the other months until you've added all of your quarters, all of your months, and all of the weeks to this new year. Now, something I would recommend you do before adding in all of your weeks is, let's say this is 2023, so this would be the previous year. Then inside of the weekly database where it's 2023, you just want to add 2023 next to all of the weeks. So you just copy this, move down, press enter, paste it in, move down, press enter and paste it in, and then you just repeat this for all 52 weeks. And then if you do this and you add new weeks, like for example adding in 2024's week 1, 2, 3, like we just did, then inside of the days template button, if we go inside of Monday, now if you edit this add week button and type in week 1 to add your new week, then you don't have to guess which week 1 is the correct one. Like you can see, okay, this is the previous year's week 1, so I need to be using this one. So it just helps with changing the weeks inside of this button. Now if we test this out and we go to Monday and we click on add week and also add today's date and our good and bad habits, and then also mark some of our habits as complete, then our weekly progress bar will update, and we can click inside of the week view and it will show the new week 1 as well as the month, the quarter, and it will show both years. But you can see in 2024 the progress bars has been updated and not in 2023. So that's pretty much how you add a new year to this habit tracker. Now the next thing I want to go over is these buttons. So all you want to do is just create a new button and use the edit pages in option, and then select your good habits database, and then the property you want to edit is going to be the done checkbox, which you want to be checked. So for this button, we only want to edit database entries inside of the good habits database where the name is meditate, as well as if the date property is today. Now if I open up Monday and uncheck the meditate checkbox and click on the button, you'll now see that our habit has been checked off. And then you basically just repeat the same process for all of your bad habits and add all of your good habit buttons inside of a callout box like this, and then do the same for the bad habits. And then what you can do is you can turn the callout boxes into sync blocks, copy the link, go inside of your mobile habits page, paste it in, and then you can add this mobile habits page as a widget on your phone, so that when you're on the go, you can just pull up this page, click on the buttons to check off your habits, and then when you're at your computer again, you'll see that all of your progress bars has been updated. And there you go. If this video was useful, then be sure to give it a like, and make sure to grab this habit tracker dashboard through the first link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.